So I watched Asteroid City and now I'm going to review it. If you don't know what this film is about, it's following a writer on his world-famous fictional play about a grieving father who travels with his tech-obsessed family to small rural Asteroid City to compete in a junior stargazing event, only to have his worldview disrupted forever. So obviously this is a Wes Anderson film, and he's not everybody's cup of tea. I think that you're either going to love his film or you're going to hate his film, and that's really dependent on you. Wes Anderson has a very unique style, and he goes about storytelling in different ways, and they're usually really unique. And I think that this film in particular, he goes about the story within a story within a story. And I think that structure is really relevant to the film itself. It basically starts with Bryan Cranston as a 1950s television host. I mean, almost think of like The Twilight Zone, where he's telling this story about an author or a writer who is played by Ed Norton, who is essentially writing Asteroid City. So it's like a TV show going into the narrative of the writer, which is then taking you into the story of Asteroid City. And some people might not like that style, and I completely understand, but I, as a filmmaker or wannabe filmmaker, I absolutely love that. I loved the idea of it. I liked the unique look of it. I love the contrast between black and white shots to bright, vivid Wes Anderson colors. I think if you're someone who enjoys film and likes the ins and outs and everything in between it, or even plays in theater, I think you're going to really like this structure. I think it's a really unique and cool way to tell a story, and I really vibed with it. However, I think a lot of people don't like this structure. The cast is huge and has a lot of big name stars, and I thought at first that that might be really overwhelming and there'd be too many people at play, but I really genuinely fell in love with every single character that he produced. I think what people might think of this film is very beautiful and unique and interesting, but also lacking something, and I think that that would be lacking heart in the film. There's not as much heart as most of the Wes Anderson films I've seen. While I've not watched all of them, I know back in, early days Wes Anderson, there was more heart to it. And I can understand he has a particular style with his characters, and he uses a lot of deadpan, and he doesn't like his characters to show a lot of emotion. So I can understand from someone who doesn't really know Wes Anderson that there's not a lot of heart in it, but I didn't actually see it that way, and this is why. I felt like the story was very focused on everybody's story instead of just one particular story. And while, yes, their lack of emotion or their deadpan sentences doesn't really show that, I felt like the overall picture of this film was about everyone in their circumstance at one point in time trying to understand their own feelings. And while I know that's like pretty broad, I think that it's pretty specific to the film. I know that COVID was kind of an inspiration to Wes Anderson for this film, and I'm just thinking back to the days of like isolation when we were all in quarantine and we were all just kind of thinking about what's my purpose, what is life about, what are my skills, what should I do with these skills? And I think that the film really focuses on that on every single character in the movie. And I actually really liked that and felt like within that was the heart of the movie. So while characters might not have developed in a way that we're normally used to seeing, I think overall in the big picture, every single character did change. It was very subtle, but they all had different questions that they seemed to be asking themselves. And I really, really liked that. I really liked that part of the story. I really enjoyed all of the actors in this film. I thought that they did a really fun job with their parts. And, as someone who watches a lot of Tom Hanks movies, and usually he is very emotional and plays these characters that are so full of heart and they really like move us as audience members, it's interesting to see him kind of pull back from that and to be a stricter, harsher, deadpan character, which we kind of haven't seen in a long time from him, and I really liked that. I really love Jason Schwartzman, and I love him in this movie because I feel like you could see more parts of him. It wasn't just this one-dimensional Wes Anderson character. He was playing the actor who plays the character in Asteroid City, and you could see the contrast and the diversity between the two. And the actor was asking questions about this particular character, and it just felt different for him in a Wes Anderson film, and I like that too. There's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of different characters in the film, and I think that that's where people will probably be like, this is too much, it's too overwhelming, there's too much going on and not enough plot. I think that's what I loved about this film so much, is the fact that it wasn't about one person and one story. It was about all of these different people experiencing the same thing within this time that they spent in this city. And they were asking questions about love and wonder and filmmaking and acting and what's out there in this world. And I really, really enjoyed thinking about all of those things and finding the familiar in that. To sum it up, I really, really enjoyed this film. I really liked all aspects of it. I loved the way that the story was told. I really liked the characters, even though I think that some people might say that this is a boring film and that these characters are really one-dimensional and they don't have any heart. I disagree with that. I think that there is heart to the story. It's just done in a different way, which is why I think I appreciated it. Again, I might be reading way too much into it, but that's how I took it. That's how I personally saw the movie. I think that it's beautiful. I think that there are a lot of really silly, funny moments to it. I can definitely see people saying that it's boring because it is very monotonous and the plot is kind of weird and it doesn't really move particularly fast. And I get that. But again, I think that there's layers to this story, which is why I really, really like it. I would definitely recommend this to people who do like Wes Anderson, because it is that style, it is that quirkiness. It does have many moments that are similar to a lot of his other films. I don't know if I would recommend this to a casual movie watcher to go buy a ticket and see it, but if it's on a streaming network that you have, I would definitely recommend to watch it. I think it's very unique and different and something new to try if you have never ever watched Wes Anderson movies. I think it's a good middle ground of his work. But yeah, that is my review. I really liked the movie. I would recommend it. I would probably give it a 7 out of 10, and that's pretty high for me. So yeah. Anyway, that is my review. I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I'll see you later. Bye!